Got a fun show for you, Commanders family. We have OTA standouts. Our guys will be talking about their favorite guys they have seen from OTAs. Then we're raising hell with the rookies. That's right, we got our 7th round pick out of Notre Dame, Javontae Jean-Baptiste. He pulls up to the studio to talk all things draft and give a little background on himself. And then, of course, we got to have the guys break it down. They are breaking down gunners and returners.
You need a guy who's a beast.
Just sitting there showing off, doing it good.
As for the offense, for such a young player, I thought was really fantastic.
Commanders family, it all starts right now. Welcome into Command Center, presented by SeatGeek, the official primary team partner of the Washington Commanders. Brian Coble Jr. here, Mr. 8-9, Santana Moss, Mouth of the South, Fred Smoot, and the legend Logan Paulson. Fellas, the guys are back out here. They're into phase 3, and we have a lot to get into, so let's get right into it, right? We got to see some of our rookies in their jerseys for the first time. Jaden Daniels, Luka McCaffrey, out in LA for the rookie premiere. Yeah. How cool is it to see him rocking that burgundy and gold?
It looks great, man. I remember my day being a rookie, having to go out to Orlando back in them days and be around all the other guys, the first round picks, the second round picks, but it was nice seeing those guys out there strutting their stuff.
They showed that the league might like Luke McCaffrey a little bit because Sarah just said first and second rounders, third rounders, and he just sitting there showing off, doing it good. I thought the guys looked good. I thought they was having fun, and that's what this for. Before the storm starts, have a little fun before the season starts.
Also, it was important for fans to see Jaden next to the other top 5 quarterbacks, right? Like, he's 6'4". He's a tall man. He's 200 pounds. And I think people are like, oh, he's this tiny, skinny guy. No, he's a big dude, big physical football player, and it was good to see him in the burgundy and gold.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting to see how much bigger he was than even the receivers, man. Really excited to see Jaden Daniels out there. And we added a weapon as well. A Demir Bird from Atlanta Falcons, over 1,600 career yards, added to this. Now, fellas, we know there's little changes when it comes to this, right? Guys added for depth. What do you think when you see these kind of players get added so late?
I mean, he's a veteran for one, but he's a body. You know what I mean? Right now, around this time of the season, you never know. You don't know what you're going to have come training camp. And I've saw guys come in now and don't make it to training camp. So he's perfect for right now. We can fill him in. Might have somebody that wasn't here or who was here that's not here now. You bring him in to see if he can work. And you never know, man. He might have a chance, but he's a body for right now.
Hey, well, first of all, this is going to be a hard roster to make. It's a lot of talent, and they say this all the time. Good teams cut good talent. All right, so what you want to do is bring the people in here that make the floor rise. All right, and he's one of those guys. I've been there, I've done that. All right, if you need me, I can play special teams. I can play on offense. I can play the Z. I can play the X. I can play whatever you need me to play because I know the playbook and I know everything that's going on. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a hard road to toe for a lot of people to make this roster, not just him.
Yeah, 100%. He's a guy that, is kind of that speedster, kind of situational guy that's like, pretty talented, but never kind of hit the mark. But all I can say is being in that situation, he's in camp, which gives him an opportunity to make the team. So good job for him, and hopefully wish him the best.
And Fred, to your point, it is going to be hard to make this roster, especially in that wide receiver room. Let's take a deeper look at all the wide receivers we have in that room. It's time to look at our lucky numbers presented by Maryland Lottery Fast Play Games. Play fast, win fast today, but please play responsibly. Veteran Terry McLaurin has a lot of young guys in this room to help mold. But it's not just Terry McLaurin. We have third-year receiver Jahan Dotson as well that a lot of people are excited to see in year 3. Now, Jahan pulled up to the studio last week to kick it with me and Santana Moss. He spoke on the Commanders' wide receiver room.
Luke is great, man. He's a very smart player, too. Very instinctual. He's a great athlete, but any tips that he needs, receiver-wise, we're here for it. Especially me being a young guy who learned from Terry, who does it at a very high level in this league. I learned some things. I picked up some things as he taught me. So any information I could share with Luke, he's not afraid to ask questions, which is good too. So you can tell he wants to learn from us. Which is definitely cool to have a guy like that in the locker room.
You gotta love seeing the veteran presences in this wide receiver room. Not only from Dotson, but from guys like Terry McLaurin and even Jamison Crowder, who have been out at OTAs alongside these rookies. Only 2 more weeks left of phase 3 before we hit minicamp in the middle of June. Fellas, we had the pleasure of having a front row seat during OTAs when we went live from Command Center. So let's really get into it, right? Let's talk about these guys. Tanner, you missed a savvy receiver. Who do you think has been a savvy receiver that you've seen from the time that you got to watch practice?
I mean, there's no other receiver savvier than Terry McLaurin. You know what I mean? I think when you watch him and his body of work, it automatically stands out. But I think I just can't help but every time I watch this kid, I feel like I'm watching a young Ed McCaffrey. And that's Luke McCaffrey. I mean, he runs every route hard. He's run every route with. It's almost like as he he have a beef with the grass. You know, he's kicking up so much dirt. But no, he's a guy that, you know, I mean, you look at all the other guys, they're out there doing their thing, but to be a young guy and to be, I guess you can see, so caught up already, you know, it raises all our eyebrows.
And I think all of our eyebrows were getting raised when we were watching, right? And Logan, you were having a blast, man. When you were watching, dude, you weren't even listening to us. You were so locked in, man. Who were some of those standout guys that really got your attention?
You know, I think it was cool to see Zach Ertz, you know, a guy that's probably going to be a Hall of Famer and contention for Hall of Fame, kind of what he's able to do and what makes him so special, right? His ability to kind of run the different stems, run the double stick at the top, find space, understand coverage. You know, obviously he's a big name, but a guy like Bryson Tremaine also stuck out to me. He's a big body receiver, made some nice, tough physical catches, which you love to see. And I think just having those that's kind of the fun thing about this time of year, right? You get to see the veterans do what they do, and you see some young guys starting to make a name for themselves and say, hey, man, maybe I deserve to be on this 53-man roster.
And Fred, man, we have noticed an emphasis on defense with this new coaching staff, man. Who on the defensive end has stood out to you?
Come on, he's the biggest defensive back on the field right now. If you go out there, and I know you see him in that 4-5, and you're like, is he a linebacker? No, he's a defensive back. Yeah. And if you do any studying from the Cowboys, because we got to study the only things we have, Curse, the safety, the one that stands 6'4", like 220 pounds, they used him close in the box. They used him in the middle of the field. They did a lot with him. And there they called it the star position. That's a hybrid between the linebacker and the safety. Here, I call it the sergeant or lieutenant. I don't know what we're going to call it. But we're going to call it something, and that's what like his presence alone, him having no wasted movement, and his reach is out of this world. Imagine a reach like this. So he's just beginning. I'm going to be really, really eager to see him as the time goes on as he prepares for this season.
And talk about just beginning. Let's focus on these rookies real quick. And Tanner, man, you said it yourself. You said you look at this guy, you feel like you had a man crush on him. Just from the views of what you see, man. Let's talk about these rookies. Who stood out to you the most?
6'3", Fred boy. 6'3", 225 pounds. I mean, a specimen. Jordan McGee.
Yes.
I mean, the guys, he's just flying around right now. They're in OTA, so it's nothing that we can really actually see, but the guys just make you, I'm already ready to see them in pass, because if you look like that without the pass on it, I can only imagine, brother.
I could only imagine. And Fred, you mentioned Hampton, but let's talk more about these rookies, man. Who do you think is standing up to you the most when it comes to this rookie class is concerned?
Oh, it's hard to say because I think a lot of these guys are making special plays around there. I had to go Mike Sanders still because he has this subtleness about him, and I've seen this before when I've studied the Dre Blydes of the world, and I'm not trying to, draw the line way up there for him, but the body type, the way they go about approaching plays, Rondé Barber, the guy that I don't need to run a 4-3 to beat you, because I'm not going to have any wasted movement. I'm going to be smooth in what I do, and I'm going to know how to attack you. Just watching Mike Sanders still early, he just knows football. Like, you can tell he's an XY receiver. When he sees certain alignments and stuff like that, he's already a step ahead of the play. So I have to say he has really opened my eyes as a guy that, forget your athletic ability, he mentally has the game.
And Fred, Nick Saban called him the best cornerback in this draft. It's very interesting to see what he does.
And you know Nick Saban is a DB guy. Regardless of him being a head coach, he's a defensive back guy. For him to say that says everything.
And Logan, prospect professor, man. We know you have been watching these guys for a really long time, but now we're seeing them on the field. What rookie stood out to you?
Yeah, I think the guy that stood out to me most, especially in that first rookie mini camp, was Jaden Daniels. I mean, his ability to kind of accelerate his feet, the quick release, and his mastery of the offense for such a young player I thought was really fantastic. So, I know he's the second overall pick. The expectations are high, and they should be high. But I thought he really just kind of met them and kind of exceeded them in certain ways and kind of showed why he's more than he was at LSU, which is always exciting, and I can't wait to see what Cliff does with him and maximizes this skill set.
And you know what, Logan, man, I'm with Fred on this one, man. I like those late-round guys. One guy I was really excited to see was a Javontae Jean-Baptiste, man, a monster out in Notre Dame, and we actually got to kick it with him on our new segment, Raising Hell with the Rookies. We started with the 7th rounder, man. Let's check it out.
I like that name.
You're joining a defensive line that has some dogs.
Stacked.
Jonathan Allen, Ron Payne,
Cleveland Farrell, a number 4 overall pick. So you have these guys that are real heavy hitters in this room, man. How excited are you to learn from all of these veterans?
Man, I'm real excited because you can learn something from everybody. And you could pick up little traits from anyone. They don't just got to be in my position. They could be in other rooms. And once you're around so much knowledge like that, you just got to become a sponge to soak it all up, And even guys like Dante, been doing it.
Doing it for a
minute,
man.
So if he's been doing it for a minute at a high level, I'm just like, all right, how can I pick his brain so I can do it at a high level too like that?
Gotta imagine Jean-Baptiste is feeling very lucky. It's not every day a 7th rounder gets to go into a defensive room like the one we have. Now, Jean-Baptiste started his collegiate career at Ohio State, then transferred to Notre Dame for his senior season, where he racked up 47 total tackles, 4 sacks, a pass deflection, and a fumble recovery. He also added a sack in Notre Dame's bowl game win over Oregon State. Excited to have a guy like that that's ready to work and earn his way. Now, we know nothing is promised for a 7th round pick, but one way these guys have said that they can make it onto the field is through special teams. Now, all 3 of our analysts have played some sort of special teams, so we're gonna have them break down some things specifically about the gunners and the returners. Fellas, take it away.
It's time for Just Chill, brought to you by Steam Fitters.
Just chill. Steam Fitters. UA Local 602 provides the highest HVAC and mechanical piping services.
Brian, thanks. And Brian's talking about gunners. Some people call them flyers. Let's and returners too. Let's talk about, let's define terms, right?
Yeah.
So we got the long snapper right here. Then we got the guard, the tackle, the wing, and then the guy out here that basically lines up as a receiver on the punt return team. This is the punter. Number 11 is the punt return team.
Yeah.
These are the guys that are called like those gunners, right? And so these guys are the best coverage players on the team, right? These guys are the guys that have to go down there, make that returner stop his feet.
Athletes.
And if you have good gunners and a good punter,
And
you got a good
fast.
team. What are you looking for, Fred? Like, what are the qualities of this guy out here?
First of all, he needs to have a lot of agility.
Yeah.
He needs to have strength at the point.
Yeah.
He needs to be somebody that's used to dealing with getting jammed or either jamming, so he understands.
true.
He needs to be a person that understands leverage also. Because the one thing you can't do at this gunner position is you can't go out of bounds no more like you could back in the day. You have to stay in, because if you go out of bounds, you trade 1 for 1, and now it's 10 players on the field instead of 11. So you need somebody up here with strength and with the ability to beat 2 people, not 1.
And that's what you're saying. Like you said, 2 people, right?
Yeah.
Punt return teams, they understand, right? These are the most dangerous guys, so we'll double these guys. So you really need a guy like, when I think of a gunner or a flyer, I think of a dog. And I know you did a little bit of this. Like, what are you thinking to kind of break this double vice and make sure you get down and cover those kicks?
Well, I'm glad you asked me what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we need a guy like Niles Paul. Remember Niles Paul? That was a dog.
That was a dog
I mean,
right
he was
there.
one of those wide receivers that we didn't know where to place him at, so we put him at tight end. But, I think when you come from the college standpoint of these things, you don't normally see the 2 guys in front of
you see one.
You see one. So when you get into the league, you got a rude awakening. That, hey, I got to beat 2 guys and not 1. And I remember having some experience earlier in my days of trying to beat these guys, because they want to make sure they put the best out here to stop you from getting downfield.
The starting corners and safeties play these positions.
Because the main thing is to get that guy who's catching that punt to get a clean punt and be able to get upfield. So they put 2 guys in front of you. What do you do as a gunner trying to beat these 2 guys? Now, the average person would say, well, I'm going to try to do this and get around this guy. You just said it. You can't go out.
Can't go out of bounds.
Can't go out of bounds. Most of the time, when you do get pushed out of bounds, you're able to come back in, as long as you do it immediately. What I was told to do is try to make my move on this guy.
Attack one of him.
Attack the guy inside. So if I can attack this guy, if he overplays it and jump out wide here, and this guy's coming a little late and I get to stop, I get to split him. Or if I just attack this guy enough, hesitate him, and then get inside of him and beat him, now this guy's gonna never get to me unless he take the angle. You know what I mean? So there's plenty of ways to do this thing, but you have to be efficient. But more than anything, you need a guy who's a beast, like I talked about.
And you need a plan.
And again, you see guys and they'll take these like long looping releases out, right? Big swings in, because the idea is that when this returner's back here, this other guy back here, when he's back there, we got to get him to stop his feet, right? Got to get him to say, hey man, I can't run straight to the team's defense. Let these other guys who have to protect first, they got to do all their protection stuff first, get down and cover this kick. In terms of a guy like this on the roster, Fred, is there a name that sticks out to you?
Percy Butler, the guy that been there, done that. And guess what? I love this because everybody like to just put DBs out there. Wide receivers can play this thing also.
De'Ami Brown did that.
De'Ami Brown, another guy that can play, because you want guys with speed, you want guys that used to be important, and you want guys that understand the position. It takes a lot of you got to have a plan when these 2 guys line up in front of you.
And Tanner, we talked about the 2 guys that are covering the kicks, that are on the team to stop you, right? Your 4th string safety, your 5th string safety, the backup corner. Christian Holmes did that, or the 5th receiver. But what about the return guy? What traits are you looking for there? The guy that's got to look up at that ball in the air, catch the ball with these 2 mad dogs coming down there.
Well, one of the things, he can't be scared. The other thing, he has to know how to catch the ball. But more thing that we don't talk about is how to locate the ball. It's easy to sit stationary and catch that ball. But when that ball getting kicked wide and you got to locate it and then line up, you got to have all those skills. And I think some of the guys that fit that quality, of play or skill is guys like Jamison Crowder, guys like Dax and them. All those guys who play the position. And then they got guys out there right now because it's early. We in springtime football, so you got other guys that you're going to probably see if they have ability. So you never know. During season, might fit you in there.
Well, the thing also, Logan, is as a guy blocking for them, the best returners I love is guys that caught the ball moving forward.
Right.
Like, I never want my punt returner catching the ball moving backward because now he got to get his stance and then he has to go. I want him to catch it going forward because that's when we make the gunners and use their speed against them.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the reason we're talking about these position guys is because these are guys that are going to be impactful on the team, but are kind of fringe roster guys right now. So they can kind of start making their case, today in OTAs, right? So you can say, I deserve to be on the team. I can do this specific skill set. Either it's a returner or a gunner. So can't wait to see who those guys are. Brian, back to you.
Appreciate y'all, fellas. Great to hear y'all talk special teams because that is the way that these young guys are going to make this roster and make a name for themselves. Now, one guy that's made a name for himself through special teams is our new kicker, Brandon McManus. McManus pulled up to the Command Center studio for Free Agency Fridays and talked about how excited he was to play under new special team coach, Larry Izzo. And you mentioned Coach Izzo. You guys do have a little bit of history. You guys weren't together long in New York, but you did have some time with him. What about him makes you so excited to kick under a coach like that?
Yeah, well, I had an opportunity to, Larry was the assistant coach in 2014 with the Giants, and he's such a fiery coach. He was a fiery player.
Yeah.
If anyone goes back into the history books to watch him, the history highlights of his Miami days, his Patriot days and stuff, but that's what he brings to this organization. That's what he brings to the players. He played with a fire on his head. He expects his players to play with a fire on their heads. And, I just love what he's about. And like him and I had a close relationship up there and, wanted a chance to play with him, hopefully for a longer term and, really help this team, get to the next level. I know this, we're looking to turn this whole thing around. This, like I said, new regime. It's a whole new influence here. And like I said, we got a lot of older guys mixed with the young guys and try to bring our experience and some of our, things that we've done in our career to help mold these young guys, help bring a new leadership to this group.
We have a whole week load of content for you every single week on the Commanders YouTube page. Monday, we have Raising Hell with the Rookies. That is a brand new segment that we made where we'll be talking to each and every one of our rookies that was drafted. Then on Tuesdays, we have the Get Loud podcast with Mike Jenks and Fred Smoot doing what they do best, getting loud. Then Wednesday is the Command Center podcast, a fan favorite, where guys really dive deep into all things Commanders. And then, of course, on Fridays, it's Free Agency Friday, baby. We got a few good ones left for you guys. All that and more can be found on the Commanders YouTube page, and you can stream these podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. And Commanders family, before we end the show, Fred has a special message.
I want to get this message to a Spurs person out there, London Fletcher, happy birthday to you, brother. Since you were born in the early 40s, nobody ever knew you was going to get to the Hall of Fame and be the player that you were. We knew. We had faith. And now that it's your 103rd birthday, we want to say from Command Center, from me, Santana, and Logan BH, we want to tell you a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
And just a couple more. We love you.
Happy birthday, London Fletcher. I don't think it gets any better than that. Who doesn't want a Fred Smoot birthday message?
Happy birthday, Fletch.
Happy birthday to London Fletcher, Commanders fans. We will see you next Thursday.
To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Join me as I take a deep dive into the least insulted ticketing app in history, SeatGeek. Did SeatGeek invent the ticket?
No, but we do make them work.
Drum roll, please. Ooh, how do I use the Seat View feature?
It shows seats with a pole blocking the view. Don't buy those.
What if I want to sit behind a pole?
Buy those.
Join me as I bore you to death with a series of interviews about a ticketing app that just does what it's supposed to do.